headed out the door here, but I wanted to say hi to everybody just for a minute. We're going to say hi. That's going to be it. I'm going to jet. Got an order of a few miscellaneous parts in. That's what I want. That's the one I want. I'm headed over to my buddy Mike's. We got a little get together going. Not for chainsaws, just anyway. How many people are here? How many people are here? 4 people already? Hybrid's here, Larry's here, Brandon's here. Nice. DJ Dan, was that you that sent me the email? I forget what your email address is. Is that you? That's you, right? Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, like I responded. The dealers around here could care less about my tools. Because they just don't do rebuilds. I've walked in there and they're just like, yeah, one a year, if that, type of thing. So they just don't do them. And in reality, Dan, I'm going to be really not nice to your dealer here, but if they were completely enamored with my tools, I mean, they should have the steel tools, and they should know how to use them. So theoretically, what my tools are is not really anything new, but if these guys really knew what they were doing and knew their job, should I say that? Shouldn't even say that. Anyway, you get the idea. So it just seems to me like, hey James, how'd the surgery go? Everything good? It's just a carburetor kit. You guessed it, $394. Goes there. Some random parts showing up. They do. Young owner hasn't built any saws before this week. He's buying the tools for himself. Sweet. So who saw Walt's video? Anybody see Walt's latest video? So I'm watching Walt put that saw together, and the assortment of tools that he has is crazy. I mean, he's got a lot, and he's got all kinds of tools to do the same job. 8 pins, 4 screws, 1 plate. Well, James, I hope we're distracting you a little bit from whatever's going on, down there. Sorry, buddy. I hope the surgery went well. But anyway, so, yeah, ouch. Yikes. So the assortment of tools that Walt has is for because he just keeps collecting tools, obviously. But as I'm looking at it, it's just so much more complex to do it that way, and so much more elegant, I think, to use the tools that I've developed. And if you actually, because he was pointing out, he says, the tools that he's got there that he's selling for $100 for the set, for instance. So if you want to put together a 660, it's $100 for that set of stuff there. And so it's actually cheaper to get my set of tools. So you can get a sleeve, a rod, a handle, All that stuff is $60 shipped if you're just putting together 660s. So it's actually cheaper and more elegant. The downside to my setup, and it's not, I don't think it's a downside at all, but the downside to my setup is that you got to pull the seals. And I will argue with basically anybody that it's a whole lot better and more reliable to pull a crank through a bearing when there's no seal there. I'll just say that and say you're risking prolapsing that seal. If you tried it, you're trying to do two things at once: pull a crank through a bearing and through a seal effectively. It's too many things happening at the same time. If you pull the crank through the bearing, then install the seal later, much better. It's just seals are cheap. Yeah, I know. Isn't it, much better to know that seal goes in well as opposed to being like, well, it might be okay from the factory, or from the Chinese factory anyway. The Husky makes it easy with even with their proprietary bearings. The seal is already installed, and the bearing, the crank puller that I have, just seats right up against the inner race of the bearing. Doesn't even touch the seal. You don't have to worry about it. Brandon, do you even need it? Do you even need what? Brandon, be more specific. Do you even need the tool? Well, you can't press it in by hand. It doesn't work like that. You need some type of a press to get the crank into the bearing. They don't go. It just doesn't go. So here's actually, this is a Husky proprietary bearing, but the crank will not fit in the bearing by hand. You cannot physically press it on there. So you either need a press to press it on there, or you need the tool to pull it through. And so the benefit to my tool is that it's essentially 100% safe for the bearing to do, and you're doing it at room temperature. So you're pulling the crank through. It's only pressing on the inner race, so you're basically guaranteed to not mess anything up. Now, I understand that the steel tools have pressed on the case or the outer race or whatever. They press on the case, and they've been able to pull cranks through, and they've been doing that for years. I just have a fundamental disagreement with that. Is there an issue with it? Have people had problems? Probably not. But it makes more intellectual sense to to rest the tool against the inner race and pull the crank through, and then there's no lateral forces on the bearings at all. You just don't have to worry about it, Brandon, yeah, you can absolutely heat the bearings and cool the crank in the freezer. That takes time. And then it gets stuck halfway. I've done it tons. I have absolutely done it. I've gotten things stuck halfway. It's a pain in the neck. Here's the other thing. When you're heating something up and you're cooling something down, you also have condensation issues, moisture issues. If you're heating things up and you're using sealant, that may not set quite the same way. Okay, you either use a torch or a heat gun to do it. If you're using a heat gun to do it, it's going to take a lot of time to heat that up appropriately, like a lot of time. So guys that have done the hot and cold thing, as soon as you try the tools, it makes life so much simpler. And it goes, it's completely safe for you and for the bearings. It's a nearly universal kit, does most everything. The main kit, which is $170 shipped, does like 90% of the saws that people are rebuilding. Everything from 346 XPs, 372s, 390s, 3120s, steel 026 all the way through the 660s. It does everything in there. Old school Huskies, 257, 254, 288s. It does all that stuff, you know? So, yeah, you know, it all comes in one nice little bundle. You don't have to search through things and whatever to get what you need. It's all there. It's all elegant and it's there. So the other thing is that it certainly allows you to only use you know, you don't have to use an open-ended wrench. You can use a socket on it, which helps in a huge way because it frees up one of your hands to mess with the crank or whatever else you might need to do, stabilize something, and you just turn it down nice and gentle. And you guys have seen me do that 100 times. So anyway, I was just coming on to say hi to you guys, and I had seen Walt's video. I mean, the tool that Hoozle has for basically it's a steel clone. It's a steel tool clone, and it looks to me like it actually has probably some merit in because certainly for a press to press out the crank, it could be somewhat useful. For pulling a crank through, again, you're stabilizing against the bar nuts as opposed to stabilizing against the inner race. Fundamentally, I have a problem with that. Um, will it work? Yes, it'll work. Plenty of guys use hammers too to put these things in. Ugh. With my set, there's no need. No hammers. It would look sweet in your toolbox. Actually, I was looking at a toolbox today. I was looking at tool. Yeah, and pretty much any tool looks good in Brandon's toolbox, right? But my tool especially. I was looking at a toolbox today. Craftsman makes. It was down at Lowe's. Craftsman has a 52-inch double stack toolbox, and it's like $800. It's not like the most amazing quality in the world, but it's only $800 for a double stack toolbox. Where am I headed? I'm headed out to my buddy's house. It's actually Star Trek night, so I got to go out, and my daughter's coming with me. So yeah, the Craftsman toolbox is like $800. I think it's on sale over there. The lower box, 52 inches. The lower box they only want it's like $439. The top box is 339, and you know, including taxes and everything, probably like $800. Thing is, I have to go down and look at because this is the U.S. General stuff is from Harbor Freight. I have to go down and look and see what I think is more robust and better bang for buck. But I'm thinking of getting because I have another one of these out in the shed. I have the lower box. I need to get the upper box out in the shed too, so that I have match sets or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's for a toolbox. It's pretty cheap for that size of a box double stack. That's pretty cheap. Put the bearings on the crank, then put the cases in the oven. They just go together. I don't know. I think the crank tools. I mean, they were a game changer for me. It's why I decided to start producing them, and just everybody that has them loves them. Um, and Dan just the reason I was talking about Dan was Dan just showed them to his dealer apparently, and I guess they're gonna buy a set, which I think is great. Royal Husky, yeah. Why are toolboxes so high? I guess just for more space. Um, you're right. It's nice to have a workbench effectively here, and then all your storage down there, which some of the boxes do and some don't. Enjoy your pain meds, James. Um, but yeah, if you want to stack everything up, then just stack it. You don't have to have the toolbox. These are separate boxes, so you don't have to have two boxes if you don't want them. For me, it makes sense that because I literally have like this whole area here that I work from, and for me, it's just super convenient to grab everything whenever I'm doing stuff. 13 people here. Who's here? Yeah, Edwin, I got to go down to the U.S. to Harbor Freight and check out the newer U.S. General boxes and see if I want to commit to one of those, as opposed to going with the cheaper Craftsman. It sure looks like a deal though for that kind of money. Hey Terry, yeah, I'm headed off to it's Star Trek night with my buddies, and I'm gonna bring my daughter tonight too. Why not? So yeah, so I'd seen Walt's video and I just wanted to kind of comment on that a little bit. And um, what else is cooking? I still have two 394s for no, not Star Trek Discovery. They're going through the original series and all the series theoretically in order of air date. So whatever. I don't know if they're on Next Generation tonight, but it might be Next Generation. Um, but yeah, I've got a couple of 394s for sale. If anybody's interested, I do have some T-shirts. Anybody can email me about that. Um, what else? Anybody has any questions about anything, they can always email me. I've been just stupidly busy lately, so I haven't been responding great to emails. But um, anybody can obviously try and get me. So, anything else, guys? I just wanted to come on here real quick and say hi. Go to bed, Larry. You're probably getting up early tomorrow. Be safe out there, okay? I had off today. I'm off tomorrow. I got adjusted by the chiropractor a little today, so hopefully that'll make me feel a little better. And that's about that. Have a good night, guys. Be safe. My email is here, per usual. Remove the ampersands. You've got it. Take care. Have a good night.